All right, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. You are live and direct once again with your Akazaki Yahoo, and I'm giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Ba'Shem, Hamashiach, wa Malak, Yahushua, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom wa Baruchim. That is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. All praises to the Almighty Yah. Hallelujah. All right, so we are back with another video review, and we are back with Truth Unedited. He has dropped one that it caught my attention, and I actually had to pre-watch it. Had to pre-watch his stuff because he'll say some stuff that I don't necessarily agree with. But this time, we're in pretty good shape, so we're good for this one. The name of this video: Christians Exposed. Exposing the real foundation of Christianity and why they reject most of the scriptures, the set apart manuscript. All right, let's get to it and get through it. All praises to the Abba. Here we go. As always, link is in the description box. Yeah, here we go.
Over the past few weeks, I've taken a great deal of time to go over the book of Hebrews and explain what the change in the law was. The Hebrews, they had a hard time adjusting to this change and understanding what it was that they were to do. As I explained in the last part, it was a radical decision and change to no longer go to the Levitical priests for their sins and rather just believe in Yahusha to cover them. This was a major change that they adapted to. And as you read the scriptures and really understand the context, it does not allow you to have a lawless mindset when reading the scriptures. For some reason, Christians believe that under this new covenant, when speaking against the law, they believe they're saying it as it's said in the scriptures, but they don't recognize that they're basing it on how they want to believe it. When Yahusha walked this earth, he never told those who followed him to not keep the commandments. He never said this. He actually said the exact opposite when the rich young ruler came to him. He said it very clearly. Now behold, one came and said to him, "Good teacher, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?" So he said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is Elohim. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments." Matthew chapter 19, verses 16 through 17. You see, Messiah himself said, if you want to enter into life, you must keep the commandments. This was right out of his mouth, directly, without any other application or interpretations. If we just stay true to his word, then the confusion and the noise, they go away and we gain clarity. But the issue is not the word. It's how we have been taught the word. The challenge you're really going to have to ask yourself is, are you here to defend Christianity or are you here to protect the word? Because these two things are quite different. And what happens is that because people aren't truly aware of the differences, when
I would even go further, because yes, the word of the Most High is very, very important. But what does the word of the Most High do? It connects us to the Most High. So by defending what's written in the text, you're actually defending, or not even. I don't want to use the word defending. You're actually serving the Most High. That's how you serve the Most High. That's how you show him that you are for him. Because those who are for him are going to show themselves for him. And how do you do that? By setting yourself apart. That's why Israelites, we're set apart. It's in us to be set apart. It's not a cult. It's not something that, whatever they're calling us, it's the fact that we operate as the scripture has said. And that's what the Most High have given us to do. So let's continue.
They hear a person like me speak against Christianity, they automatically jump into defense instead of really trying to hear me out. What is really missing today is an origin story of Christianity, because Christians feel like there was a smooth transition between the apostles and the early church fathers and what we have today. But this is not the case. There was a century gap between the true apostles and the early church fathers that declared themselves to be the stewards of the religion of Christianity amongst Rome. And this 100-year gap is where the planting of the tares has occurred. And this time period is where the creation of Christianity was created. Now, here's the thing. Christians, they're not aware or taught about this history. And when you bring it up to Christians, they will tell you that it's simply not important. But these are some of the main differences and reasons why I speak against Christianity.
Everything is important. You cannot serve a power, and the way you serve it, how it came about, cannot be important. That's ridiculous. Let's continue.
So many people are so willing to call me false and to speak against me. But these men that make videos about me, they never deal with the evidence and claims that I actually produce that show why I say these things. People love to go all around the world, but never actually deal with what it is I'm actually saying. It's easier to attack the individual than to deal with the information. And because people are just looking for someone to speak against me to validate their reasons for rejecting me, they listen to it regardless if it's in substance or not. I reject Christianity because of the doctrines and beliefs of the early church fathers who were the founders of this faith.
Yeah, I reject Christianity because it is a lie, and they don't serve the Most High in spirit and in truth. Instead, they lie, and they serve themselves. They serve their own bellies, and that's the reality.
That have trickled on down through history to what Christianity is today. I know this based on study. Have you actually studied this enough to know whether what I'm saying is true or not? Anyways, what Christians don't realize is that they don't come from the understanding from Peter, James, or Paul. Christians embody the spirit of the early church fathers that have been passed down over the centuries through Christianity. The more you embody Christian doctrines, the more you embody the spirit of the early church fathers. And the more you embody the spirit of tares. And the thing is that it's pure deception that can go unnoticed because Christianity is the largest religion in the world. So if you're expecting this to be easily accepted and known, you're mistaken. People are defending Christianity more than they're defending the word.
Right.
And because people's identity are surrounded by being Christians, they will defend Christianity more than defending biblical truths.
Exactly.
And if you understand the early church and their views, you can clearly see that they veered off from what the scriptures actually said.
Way off.
And there's no topic more important than examining this than from the perspective about the law. Because Christians, though they feel that they're just reading the Bible, they don't recognize that they're just reiterating the words and thoughts from the early church fathers.
Right.
The early church fathers were the ones who challenged the believing Yahudim, and they despised the Torah. So they made sure that they were different and separated from the believing Yahudim until the Council of Nicaea and the laws from Constantine and other emperors made rules that made sure the separation of Christians and the Yahudim were strong.
Exactly. That's why they don't deal with keeping the way that the Most High have set forth for us to keep. And that's why they see it as problematic for us, the Yahudim or the Hawadim, to walk in the way of Torah, because they get their influence from those people who set up Christianity. He calls them the early church fathers, whatever. It's the influences of, it's those who set up Christianity. That's where the influence comes from.
So Christians, they rejected the Yahudim and their ways and believed their way was the best. And if you just read their writings, you can see that most Christians today just embody the spirit of the early church fathers, and they sadly do not know it, because even though we are taught that these men exist, we really aren't taught about what they believed, and we don't really read their writings. In reference to the law, it is important that you understand that for you Christians that have rejected a whole Bible study on the book of Hebrews that taught you directly from the scriptures what changed in the law, the reason why you did this is because you embody the spirits of the early church fathers who hate our fathers' laws and made sure that they rejected them. So because you're a Christian, you embody the same thought and feeling, and you probably don't recognize that you do.
Right. So he's talking about what changed in the Torah. What changed in the Torah was not the Torah itself. What changed in the Torah was going from the Levitical priesthood to Hamashiach, Yehoshua, Yahushua, to becoming the high priest. He was from the tribe of Yehuda or Yehowadah. So there is no conversation in Torah about anybody from Yehowadah becoming a priest, especially the high priest. The high priest was reserved for Aharon and his line. That was reserved for him, for his line. So in order for Hamashiach, the Messiah, who is from Yehowadah or Yehuda, to become the high priest, to become priest, the priest, he cannot be, there has to be a change to the Torah. And that's exactly what the book of Hebrews was talking about. So if you don't understand that, it's because you're not reading it. You're not taking the context in, and you're not dealing with what needs to be dealt with, because it's very simple to understand. Let's continue.
I'm going to go through the beliefs of the early church fathers in regards to the law. And by doing this, I'm going to not only prove that Christianity is a faith of tares, but that Christians have influences that are not from the scriptures, but from men that decided to adapt the scriptures in the way that they wanted to see them. We are going to see the real reason why Christians reject the law. Let's begin. So, in examining Christianity, it's best to go back to the beginning of things. And yes, the Bible is the most important thing. But what happens is that people don't understand that the way you have been taught to read and look at the Bible, it has been influenced. Do you think a Muslim, when they read or look at the scriptures, they would look at it in the same mindset that a Christian does? Absolutely not. There is a great deal of influence on both of the sides that makes them look at the scriptures differently. And what Christians want to believe is that their influence is holy and true. But what they don't recognize is that when Christianity was created, there was a disdain against the Yahudim, who they were supposed to be learning the truth from.
Right.
Yahusha, he never came to the Gentiles.
Never.
He came to the lost sheep of Israel, and he taught them and told them to preach and teach this truth to the world. But what happened is that in the 2nd century, these early church fathers, they took control and said that it was them that are now going to be stewards of this faith. And they were going to be the ones that led this religion, which is what Christianity is. And they rejected the influence of the Yahudim, who they call Jews. You should understand that Christianity was born as an enemy of the Yahudim, the Jews. This was their premise. They were, in fact, the first anti-Semites. So as you are reading your Bible in the New Testament, all written by Yahudim, please consider that Christians later took authority of the scriptures and said that they rejected what the Yahudim were about.
Right. And to reiterate the point, the New Testament, what you call what's called the New Testament, the Brit Hadashah, those that are written from on that side of the book, those were all Yahudim, because the northern kingdom was gone. The northern kingdom has already been scattered away. So all the text that was written in the Brit Hadashah, or what's called the New Testament, they are in they were Yahudim or Yehowadah. So to reject literally and try to isolate terminology based on the writings of the very people that you're rejecting is absolutely ridiculous. And that's why this world is so corrupt, because they don't deal with his. They deal with theirs. They don't deal with what the Most High set up. They deal with their own setup. So let's go.
In the book Dictionary of Early Christian Beliefs, a reference guide to more than 700 topics discussed by the early church fathers by David Burkott, it provides a massive amount of quotes from the early church fathers and their writings. Christians, they tend to ignore this history and the plethora of writing that these early church fathers have written. I have many of these early church fathers' writings. I've given them out in PDFs in the Testing Christianity series. But this book right here has compiled a lot of their quotes and has made it easy to see exactly what these early church fathers believed on many different subjects. Here's the thing: if those in the truth are really truly in the truth, they would not ignore evidence and say it does not matter. But you will see that this is precisely what Christians do. Anyways, as you read the writings of the early church fathers, you will be able to clearly see that they detached themselves with the Yahudim, and they themselves, without a direct covenant from Yahweh, declared themselves to actually be Israel. So when you understand Christianity, you
Hijack.
must understand it all from this main perspective, and you cannot ignore it. Let's go and read many of these quotes. Christians from among the Gentiles are both more numerous and more true than from those among the Jews and Samaritans.
Who cares?
That's Justin the Martyr. Another one from him. God blesses this people, i.e., Christians, and calls them Israel, and declares them to be his inheritance. So why is it that you, Jews, do not repent of the deception you practice on yourselves, as if you alone were the Israel? Again, Justin the Martyr. Another quote. According
Wait, what? What the hell was that? Let's back up. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. What? What did he say? What? He says, Most High. Now, I'm not going to use their terminologies, of course. If you know me, you know this. Most High bless this people, i.e., Christians. Example, the Christians, and call them Israel. When did the Most High call Christians Israel? Never, ever, ever. The Most High made the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He cannot lie, so he can't go back on that covenant. Understand? So for them to say that the Most High called Christians Israel is complete and utter falsehood, and uh, it makes the Most High into a liar. So he's not a liar. You're a liar, Justin. Whatever your last name is, you're the liar. Yahuwah is not the liar. You are the liar, and declares them to be his inheritance. Never has the Most High never, ever has he declared anybody except Yisrael, Yasha'al, to be his inheritance. That is both northern and southern kingdom. The scattered of the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom who are in Arkebular. Let's continue.
own were the Israel. Again, Justin the Martyr. Another quote. According to what had been foretold in advance, the Jews had departed from God. They had lost God's favor, which had been given them in times past and had been promised them for the future. Instead, the Christians have succeeded to their place, deserving well of the Lord by faith. They come out of all nations and from the world. That's from Cyprian. Two peoples were foretold, the elder.
The Most High has no tie to the whole world. In fact, the Most High is an enemy to the whole world. You understand? Do you understand that that is not the way of the Most High? The only tie that the Most High have to the whole world is by the scattering of the Yahudim. That's the only tie that the Most High have to the whole world. Is the Israelites who are in those nations. That's it. Because his obligation, he's obligated himself to the Israelites. He's not obligated himself to you heathen. You heathen have no tie to the power of Yisrael, Yasha'al, Yasha'ala. Period. None. You have no tie to the power of Israel. The only way you even know anything about the Israelites is through your evil that you've done to the children of Israel and your corruption that you put into the children of Israel. Let's continue.
And the younger. The elder people are the Jews. The younger one consists of us. In Genesis, it says, "And the Lord said unto Rebekah, Two nations are in your womb." The church, which had been barren before, is to have more children from among the Gentiles than what the synagogue had before. The Jews were to lose, while we were to receive the bread and the cup of Christ in all his grace. The new name of Christians is to be blessed in the earth. So the Gentiles, rather than the Jews, attain to the kingdom of heaven. In the gospel, the Lord says, "Many will come from the east and from the west and will lie down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven."
Mm-hmm.
That's Cyprian again. I've said many times that they hijacked the covenant. They said that the covenant is theirs. This is what they believe. Here's another one.
That's a lie.
Our ancestors were the patriarchs of the Hebrews. Lactanius, do you see the arrogance? Please, do you understand what is going on here? Because of what was prophesied to happen to the Yahudim because of their rebellion, these Christians have created and believed in a doctrine.
Yeah, these Christians have stolen. They've done exactly what they have always done. They have stolen that which belonged to the other people. And the other people are the Yahudim. They stole that what belonged to the Yahudim. And that makes zero sense for them to try to operate as us. Because the only reason you even have our stuff is because you stole it. It's the only reason. You have one single reason why you have our stuff. You stole it. You stole it. That's why you got it. Let's continue.
That says that they are the recipients of this new covenant. And this is the reason why Christians don't know who the new covenant is made with. It's because the heart and spirit of Christianity has replaced those who our Father Yahweh has made the new covenant with and placed Christians in as the ones who are in the new covenant only. Okay, maybe you still don't believe me. Well, look at these quotes.
Let's see.
This one. The Jews had formerly been in covenant with God,
Formerly.
but afterwards, cast off on account of their sins, they began to be without God.
No.
Tertullian. They reject that the new covenant was made with Israel and Judah, and they have.
See, you can punish your child without disowning your child. Your child can be punished because they done something that was inappropriate. And that's what's happened to the children of Israel. We have been punished for our evil doings. That doesn't mean that we're not still the children. That just means that we're punished. So who would have the right to dictate that they now can take the place of the children of Israel? What father is going to take in another child and reject his own children because his children have done something out of line? Come on, man. That's crazy. Continuing.
And made it to be all about themselves. This is what Christians believe. I mean, I can give a great deal of quotes from them, but if you don't want to understand that today modern Christians have the spirit of these men, you aren't paying close enough attention. This is why Christians feel the covenant is all about them. This is why they feel they're going to be raptured away first, while they reject all the prophecy Yah made in the Old Testament about restoring Israel. But that's not the purpose of this video. What I want to share is what Christians believe in regards to the law. Look at the quotes from the early church fathers, and you should be able to recognize that this is exactly what Christians believe. Let's go through the quotes. And if you have this book, you can find these directly in the section under the law, Mosaic. If we still live according to the Jewish law, we acknowledge that we have not yet received grace. That's Ignatius.
False.
If anyone preaches the Jewish law to you, do not listen.
False. Living by the law of the Most High is grace because it separates you from the heathen. And that's what these heathen don't understand, because these heathen want to be heathen. It is the nature of a thing to be what it is. You understand? Those who are kind, they go together. What has happened is these heathen, they want to be who they are. And then sadly, Israelites, they want to be like the heathen. But we're separate. So we're supposed to be separated from these heathen. Yirmiyahu, chapter 10. Thus saith Yahuwah, power of Israel, learn not the way of the heathen. Learn not the way of the heathen. Who is he teaching that to? He's teaching that to Israelites. He's teaching that to the sons of Yaakov, the sons of Israel. Learn not the way of the heathen. Don't do what they do because they want to take you to where they are. Our problem is we've always had a problem wanting to follow after the nations. We always feel like we're missing something. That's our problem. And we need to cut that out. Continue.
Listen to him. For it is better to listen to Christian doctrine from a man who has been circumcised than to listen to Judaism from one who is uncircumcised. Again, Ignatius. The Christians do not observe the same forms of divine worship as do the Jews. Letter to Diognetus. Is there any other matter, my Jewish friends, in which we Christians are blamed than this, that we do not live after the law and are not circumcised in the flesh as your forefathers were, and do not observe Sabbaths as you do? Justin the Martyr. We do not follow the Jews in their peculiarities in regards to food, nor in their sacred days, nor even in their well-known bodily sign. Tertullian.
So that is why you Christians don't keep the way of the scriptures. Don't keep the way of the Most High. He says, we do not follow the Yahudim and their particulars in regards to food. So you don't observe the dietary law, the Torah of the dietary law. You know what? Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something real quick. Because this is why the Most High loves Israel and not you heathen. And not you heathen. I'm gonna show you something. I hope this hurts your feelings too. I hope this hurts your feelings really bad. I really hope this hurts your feelings. All right. This is Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 9. This is right after the flood. Okay. This is directly after the flood. They are literally getting off. They've literally gotten off of the ark. And this is the instruction that they've been given. All right. Verse 9. Slakia, chapter 9, verse 1. It says, and the Most High Barak or blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth and all the fishes of the sea. Unto your hands are they delivered. Every moving thing shall be food. This word meat, this is food for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. All things. So the representative of the Most High have told those who got off of the ark, those who got off of the ark, you can eat everything. Every moving thing that live shall be food for you. Even as I have given you the green herb, have I given you all things. When you go back into chapters 1 and 2, we find that the green herb was given to not only man, but also all the beasts. All the beasts have was eating the green herb. That was what everything was eating at the beginning of creation. Now, after the flood, he's given food of everything that moves, everything that lives. That's what you eat. That's what he told them when they got off of the ark. There is no separation in that. We don't see the separation until the Israelites come in Leviticus. That's the only place that there's separation. So for this heathen to say they don't deal with the food, nor the sacred days, nor the body sign. What's the body sign? The circumcision. They don't deal with any of these things that we've been given, that the scriptures teach us. Why is that? Because they are heathen. It's not for them. They're heathen. But let's continue.
In their well-known bodily sign. Tertullian. The same God, therefore, who prohibited meats, also restored the use of them, for he had indeed originally allowed them.
Yeah, he did.
Tertullian.
For you heathen,
We do not
but not
regulate our
for
lives
us.
like Jews, for we are of the opinion
Not for us, because he separated us from you heathen. And that's what you heathen don't understand. But let's continue. Time is ticking. Let's continue.
that the literal following of the laws is not the thing that conveys the real meaning of this legislation. We maintain that when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart. For the meaning of the law of Moses has been concealed from those who have not welcomed the way that is by Jesus Christ. Origin. So to all the Yahudim forever, it's been concealed. But once they got it, now they are able to understand what the law of Moses is about. These are men who have never been under the law.
Right.
More. Jesus wished to lead all men by his teachings about the pure worship and service of God.
Slakia, real quick, let me jump to this. I want to show you this. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and 26. It says, and you shall be set apart unto me, for I, Yahuwah, am set apart, and have severed, cut off you from other people, that you should be mine. The Most High have set Israel apart from the other people, that we should be his. That we should be his. That was the manner of which we were to operate. Let's continue.
He was anxious not to place any hindrance in the way of many who might be benefited by Christianity. So he did not impose a burdensome code of rules in regard to food. Origin. His laws about food are burdensome to them. This is why they don't want to apply them. But now Christ has come, who is the end of the law. He has revealed all the obscurities of the law, all those things that antiquity had covered with the clouds of mysteries. Novation. One thing you will never hear them speak about is what actually changed in the law, like we just read in the book of Hebrews.
Exactly.
But let me just keep reading these quotes. From these things, it is plain that all those things, i.e., clean and unclean animals, are returned to their original blessedness now that the law is finished. Again, that's novation.
The law is finished.
The lofty one.
So listen to this, these heathen. The law is finished. So that means it's okay to be a homosexual. It's okay to be a pedophile. It's okay to have a physical relationship with your mother, with your father, with your brother, with your sister. All of these things are lawful because there is no Torah. Torah teaches us not to do these things. So, according to this heathen who you follow, that's no more. So now those things are okay. Because if it's okay to eat unclean food for the Yahudim, for the children of Israel, then it's okay to do those things for us as well. That is not the case. For these heathen, it's always been their thing to do that wickedness, that evil. We are separate from them. That's always been the thing for us to be separate. Before we were even put as a nation into the earth, the Most High had a plan to separate us from these heathen. Let's continue.
One despises your Sabbaths and altogether rejects your universal monthly feast according to the law. Commodianus. All these commandments have been given carnally in previous times to the people of Israel. So it follows that afterwards there was to supervene a time when the commandments of the ancient law and of the old ceremonies would cease. There will come the promise of the new law and the recognition of spiritual sacrifices and the promise of the new covenant. That's again Tertullian. More. The scriptures were written by the Spirit of God. They have not only the meaning that is apparent at first sight, but also another meaning that escapes the notice of most people. For those written passages are the forms of certain mysteries and are the images of divine things. Concerning these, there is one opinion throughout the whole church that the whole law is indeed spiritual. However, the spiritual meaning that the law conveys is not known to all. It's known to only those whom the grace of the Holy Spirit is bestowed in the word of wisdom and knowledge. Origin. See, all that right there is just Greek philosophy mixed into Christianity. Christians believe they have a deeper spiritual meaning of things. This is from the mindset of the Greeks. Here's more. Certainly, the introduction of Christianity is through the Mosaic worship and prophetic writings. But after that introduction, progress takes place through the interpretation and explanation of these things. Those who advance in the knowledge of Christianity do not, as you allege, treat the things written in the law with disrespect. On the contrary, they bestow upon them greater honor, showing what depth of wise and mysterious reasons is contained in these writings, which are not fully comprehended by the Jews.
It's not for them. That's like me going to these heathen in their land and telling them that they got to deal with what we dealing with. That doesn't make any sense. That's coming, but that's not where we are now. Now, once we have dominion over all the earth, guess what? You are gonna do what we say. And what we're gonna say is Torah. You're gonna follow Torah, and you're not gonna have a choice in the matter because we'll be the reigning, the supreme rulership of the earth. And as the supreme rulership of the earth, guess what? You're gonna do what we say, and you're gonna follow what we say, what we follow. You're gonna walk as we walk, and you're gonna operate as we operate, because we're gonna be the prevailing nation in the earth. So that's what you got to look forward to. Continue.
Just because John the Baptist was a Jew, it does not follow that every believer, whether a convert from paganism or from Judaism, must literally obey the law of Moses.
All right.
Again, that's origin.
Shut up.
Pagans arguing that they understand the set apart, holy nature of Yah more than the people that Yah came to. And this man, Origin, right here, he was one of the main contributors to the Trinity doctrine. But I'm not going to get caught up on that.
All that foolishness.
More. The prohibition on eating the flesh of pigs also had the same purpose. When God commanded the Jews to abstain from this, he wished for them to especially understand that they should abstain from sins and impurities. For this animal is filthy and unclean. It never looks up to heaven, but prostrates itself to the earth with its whole body and face. It is always the slave of its appetite and food. During its life, it can provide no useful service, as the other animals do. The others provide a means of transportation, aid in the plowing of the fields, pull wagons by their neck, carry burdens on their back,
What the
furnishing
heck
a
is he
covering with
talking
their
about?
skins, abound with a supply of milk, or keep watch to guard our houses. For this reason, he forbade them to use the flesh of the pig for food. That is, they were not to imitate the life of a pig, which is nourished only for death.
What?
Thus, all the commandments of the Jewish law have for their purpose the setting forth of righteousness, for they are given in a figurative manner, so that under the figure of physical things, those that are spiritual might be known. Lactantius.
No, you dumb dumb. The swine is unclean, and all unclean animals are not for consumption. Not just the swine, not just the one that you happen to like, the one that you want so much, so diligently. All of them are unclean. Every single one of them. Not some, not the majority, all the unclean animals. My gracious, let's continue.
Do you see what they're doing? They are adding philosophy to Yah's Torah. They have added their reasoning into why our Father has said and done certain things, why he has said these animals are unclean. And therefore, they conclude that their reasoning is sound. So if they just obey the spiritual reasoning of why these laws exist, then they don't actually have to follow what's written in the Torah.
And this is what
But
you
what you don't actually probably see is that they hated the laws that the Yahudim followed in eating particular meats. They hated it.
deal
And
with.
so they spoke against it and they did not want to follow it. And so they made every rule or reasoning in the book to say that they're not going to
This
keep
is
that
what you
and they're
do.
not going to follow that. And this is why. And this is what Christians do today. Let's look at more quotes. The Israelites turned themselves to make a calf and went back in their minds to Egypt, desiring to be slaves instead of free men. Therefore, they were placed for the future in a state of servitude suited to their wish. This servitude, i.e., the law, did not indeed cut them off from God, but it is subjected to them to the yoke of
Servitude.
bondage.
Servitude.
Irenaeus. You see, they look
What?
at the law and commandments as bondage, which is why so
Wow.
many Christians hate the law and they desperately fight to not follow it. They hate Yah's law. They hate his Torah. They look at it as servitude, as slavery. This is the wrong way to look at what Yah has said. But this is my last one about the law. And this comes from the apostolic constitutions later in the 4th century. This one is good. When you read the law, do not think yourself to be bound to observe the additional commandments. Read them only for the sake of history, in order to learn about them and to glorify God that he has delivered you from such great and so numerous bonds. Again, apostolic constitutions. And you can't tell me that this is not what Christians believe. This is exactly.
So putting a relationship in proper place is a bond. So not seeing my brother, not seeing a man as uh, an object for me to desire, that's that's a bond, according to these heathen. Of course it is, because these heathen covet these things. These ridiculous way of living, this unrighteous way of living is what they covet. And that's why they feel like for us, the children of Israel, to be set apart is equal to bondage, which is ridiculous. But let's continue.
what they believe. That's why most of them don't even read it. These early church fathers are the tares that were planted in the same field Messiah planted his good seed. And their influence is exactly what has been spread through the years as Christianity has been spread. As I begin to bring about the summary about the law, it is important that you understand where your mindset comes from. People are very much about not keeping the law, but that does not come from the mindset of the Israelites. The commandments were the culture of the Israelites. It was their way of life. For those of you that are against keeping the law, you should be mindful and recognize where your influence comes from. All of your Christian pastors and Christian influencers, they all come from the same influence that's pretty much ignored. These men are the reasons why you guys hate the Sabbath.
Right.
Look at what they say about the Sabbath. I read this earlier. No longer observing the Sabbath, but living in the observance of the Lord's day. That's from Ignatius. However, the Jews.
What? What? not the Sabbath, but the Most High's day is the Sabbath. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Let's continue.
Two, have erred from true knowledge. In their imagination, they think that it is God whom they serve. Actually, by their type of worship, they render their services to the angels and not to God. For
What?
example, they do this when they celebrate Sabbaths. Aristides, is there any other matter, my Jewish friends, in which we Christians are blamed than this, that we do not live after the law and do not observe Sabbaths as you do? Justin the Martyr.
I agree.
You, a Jew, now have need of a second circumcision,
Oh my.
although you glory greatly in the flesh. The
Oh,
new law requires you to keep a perpetual Sabbath.
these people.
However, you, because you are idle for one day, suppose you are godly. The Lord our God does not take pleasure in such observances. If there is any perjured person or thief among you, let him cease to be so. Then he has kept the sweet and truth Sabbaths of God. Justin the Martyr. And I don't really like that guy.
He's an idiot.
We don't follow the Jews in their peculiarities in regard to food nor in their sacred days. That's Tertullian. Let the one who contends that the Sabbath is still to be observed as a balm of salvation prove to us that in times past, righteous men kept the Sabbath or practiced circumcision and were thereby made friends of God. God created Adam uncircumcised and not observant of the Sabbath. Also, God freed from the deluge Noah, who was uncircumcised and did not observe the Sabbath. Enoch, too, he transported from this world, even though that most righteous man was uncircumcised and did not observe the Sabbath.
Wow.
Melchizedek, also the priest of the Most High God, although uncircumcised and not observing the Sabbath, was chosen to the priesthood of God.
Now, please explain to me how did you get the Melchizedek, the servant, the priest of the Most High? Somehow you can conclude that he was uncircumcised. How in the world can you get to that conclusion when Melchizedek was from the time of Abraham? Abraham was circumcised. Numbnut. You think Melchizedek was not circumcised? The heck is wrong with y'all people? And y'all follow this crap with knowledge? You can't watch this video and follow Christianity after this. That will make you something crazy. Let's continue.
Tertullian, these men are arrogant. More. Just as the abolition of fleshly circumcision and of the old law is demonstrated as having been consummated at its specific times, so also the observance of the Sabbath is demonstrated to have been temporary. Tertullian. What you don't recognize is that these Yahudim were still keeping the Sabbath. These believers, they were keeping the Sabbath, and they were telling these Christians that they should be keeping the Sabbath as well. And these Christians spoke to them and told them, no, we are not going to do that. We don't keep the Sabbath. These Christians were telling them why they don't do what the Yahudim did. And most of you choose the side of these Christians. Let me give more. We, Christians, understand that we still more should observe a Sabbath from all servile work, always. This is not only every seventh day, but at all times. Tertullian, they just made up their own thing. The lawgiver also desires that every individual among us should be devoted unceasingly to this kind of work, even as God himself is. Consequently, he directs us to continuously rest from secular things and to engage in no worldly sort of work whatever. This is called our Sabbath. Disputation of Archelaus and Manes. You will observe the Sabbath on account of him who ceased from work of creation. However, he did not cease from his work of providence. So the Sabbath is a rest in order to meditate on the law. It is not a day for idleness of the hands.
Oh my God.
Apostolic Constitutions. This was all the way to the late 4th century. Do you understand how much they were arguing against keeping the Sabbath? Men who have never been under the law are telling these Yahudim exactly what the law actually means. This is my last one, but it's my favorite. The Holy Spirit rebukes the Jews for their holy days. He says, your Sabbaths, new moons, and ceremony, my soul hates. Yet some of us, to whom Sabbaths are strange, as are the new moons and festivals formerly loved by God, are frequenting the Saturnalia.
So let me put this in context. The Most High hated what our people were doing because we didn't do it correctly. We did it with malice of heart. We did it out of obligation. We didn't do it because it was actually a delight to us. He wanted the Sabbath to be a delight because he wanted us to enjoy the time that we spend with him. That's why he hated those days because we utilize that as just a way of tradition and not a way of operation because it's just like being in a marriage. Imagine if you married to a woman and that woman says out of habit, I love you, but none of her actions say she loves me. Only her words say that. That's it. After a time, you would begin to hate hearing those words because none of her actions show that. And none of our actions showed that we were operating as the Most High would have us to do. Instead, we were operating against the Most High, but also doing the festivities that the Most High have given to us to do. So that's the context in which he's speaking of when he says, uh, your Sabbaths and new moons and ceremonies my soul hates because we didn't do them with our being. We did them as obligation. It became repetition to us. Continuing.
Tertullian. To them, Sabbaths are strange. So they say they're going to practice the pagan festival of Saturnalia, which is today replaced as Christmas. This is Christianity, right there, right in form. These early church fathers, they hated the law and they disregarded the Sabbath. They hated the dietary laws and therefore they spoke against them vehemently, but they used the scriptures to justify this. And this is what Christianity is. And over the centuries, thousands of years later, many of you Christians just are influenced from these same spirits that you don't recognize. And your mindset is the same, though your words are a little different. This is what Christianity believes, and it has nothing to do with the scriptures, but just the take on them from a Gentile perspective from people who never were actually in covenant with Yah, but heard the gospel and felt that they would be better stewards to spread this gospel based upon their standards and their doctrines. Yahusha prophesied of this. He called this tares. These are tares. And if you don't really want to apply the word and see exactly what Christianity is, you're just deceiving yourself. This seed comes from Satan. Who else would hate Yah's law and Yah's Torah so much that they would speak in such boldness like this?
These
These
people are
men
from Satan.
hate Yah, but they're acting like they love him. I went through all that so there could be no confusion of the influence that Christianity is built upon. To me, I am absolutely disgusted by these men, and I've read many of their writings.
Yeah, it is absolutely disgusting, and you ought to be appalled. We all should be appalled from the very operation or the very existence of what is called Christianity, because it is sickening to say the least, and none of it needs to be existing among the Yahudim, among the children of Israel, the northern or the southern kingdom. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this on up. Giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah, Bashem, Hamashiach, Wamalak, Yahushua, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four corners of the earth. I say shalom, wa baruki. That is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait till the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. Until that day come, Shabbat Shalom, family. All praises to the Most High. Praise you, Abba Yah, Kwam Yasha'Allah, Barak Hashem, Yahuwah.